On today's Patriot Nation podcast, we will be talking about the roster breakdown. The official 53-man roster has been released. Of course, the initial 53-man roster with all sorts of moves in there and out of there as well. We're also starting a new segment called 5-Minute Fantasy. We're going to be joined by Daddy's Home FF, which is Mike. You all know him on Twitter if you've been following him. Spag's out today because of hockey, but we've replaced him with Brian Phillips, the Cam supporter and lover. It's going to be a hell of a show. So buckle up and cue the music. All right, Keegan, I talked to Brian already. I didn't talk to you yet. Holy crap balls. It's unbelievable. And he can't hear me. Nope. All right, Brian, let's go to you instead. What's up, Brian? How you doing?
Hey, John.
I'm back.
Keegan's back. We're off to a hot start here.
Yeah.
Keegan,
All right. So in
there?
full transparency, Brian's doing 37 fantasy drafts. I'm in a new apartment with Wi-Fi that was set up 15 minutes ago. So this is going to be a shit show. It should be fun though.
Yeah. We'll have some fun with it. We'll have some fun with it. Brian's
I'm numbing my pain with just I can't take my eyes off of football right now. So I have no choice but to just think about what's right in front of me, picking up one foot and putting it down in front of the other.
Right.
And we're moving forward.
That's it. That's what you got to do. Just so people understand the full lunacy of Brian Phillips right now. He is in the middle of 2 auction drafts, drafting for 4 separate teams in 2 different auction drafts. He's a lunatic, a complete lunatic who's lost his mind, and I absolutely love it. For those of you that have ever done an auction draft, I have no idea how he's doing it, but I'm pretty excited to be talking to him, and he'll just let out some random scream about getting Alvin Kamara for $25, something stupid like that. But obviously lots to talk about. Cam Newton, of course, cut by the Patriots. Mac Jones, a starter. Keegan, what's your opinion here? We were pretty transparent about how we felt, but were you surprised about the Cam cut? Do you think it was the right decision? What are we thinking?
I was dead wrong, right? So, Spags was the only one that was right. I think me and you were on the same train on this show that whether we like it or not, whether the fans are going to like it or not, Cam Newton was going to be the starter because he had the experience and a year in the system and just kind of every variable that you would think about picking a starter, he kind of had the leg up. And then they cut his ass. So it was I tweeted it out. I said the notification that they cut him gave me the same reaction as the Antonio Brown signing a couple of years ago. Like, no way that's true. There's no way. Somebody's got to be messing with somebody, right? And then you come to find out it's true. He's not going to be, not going to be the quarterback. He's not going to be with the team anymore. So in terms of the right decision, I don't think I'm qualified to say if it was right or not, just because we haven't seen anything yet. But I will say I would have liked to see him continue his career with the Patriots a little bit and kind of work them into this season. I'm a big believer in the sit the rookie quarterback model. I think it's got a better success rate than starting a guy right away. So we'll see. I don't wholeheartedly agree with it, but also it's Bill Belichick and me. So, I'd take his word over.
Yeah, it's kind of close. Closer than anybody else would really think.
It's my guy.
So, and listen, here's what I'll say about that. And I've been and listen, I wrote an article saying that he does value our opinion. I agree. Definitely values our opinion highly.
He's tuning in right now.
He's probably just talking to you, to be honest with you. Bill doesn't give a shit what I say, but he'll listen.
Bill Belichick is dark blue gold. We figured it
out. But the thing for me, and I had written an article about why Mac should be the starter, and then when I thought all signs pointed to Cam being the starter, I said, hey, what are you gonna do, right? So, hi Nike, how's it going, buddy? So, anyways,
yes.
But when I was like, all right, well, Cam's gonna be a starter. That's fine. Here's the thing for me, and this is kind of what I was trying to wrap my head around. I'm trying to think of a rookie quarterback that was walking into a better situation than Mac Jones is walking into right now. And maybe you can make the argument for Russell Wilson. And I guess it's probably a pretty valid argument considering they went to the Super Bowl the next year, right? But they were, he was walking into a situation with a great defense, and a very good running game with Marshawn Lynch. But I don't think, and he had Doug Baldwin at the time, right? So I don't know if they had the weapons well, maybe the probably weapons are probably about the same, right? But like, and Cody says Trey Lance, which makes sense too. Trey Lance isn't the starter week 1, right? But Mac is walking into a situation with what looks to be a great defense, a top 5 offensive line in the NFL, and a fantastic running game. So he has a leg up just because of those things. Typically, when a rookie quarterback starts, look at Joe Burrow last year. Hey, he's got some targets, but he has no offensive line. His defense is trash. And like, who knows what the coach is like because he's a young coach. So the hard thing for me is like, you have Bill Belichick, you have Josh McDaniels, and you have already a good team around him. We haven't seen a rookie quarterback in this type of situation, maybe outside of Russell Wilson. So that's where it's like, it is. I agree with you, Keegan, about the rookie quarterback thing, but I think this is just kind of a little bit of a different circumstance, I think, this year. So.
All right. I'm ready. I'm ready. We talked about it, Pat. We talked about it in depth yesterday, but for me, it was obviously for anybody who didn't listen yesterday but is listening today. I'm been labeled the Cam stan of the site, which the background for me was never a huge Cam guy. I always liked his personality. Never really liked his style because I was so locked into the Tom Brady mold, right? Like the quick, efficient, accurate passing. And I never had an appreciation for what Cam was until he came to New England. And I really, started watching. And we have Jonnu Smith on the block right now. We're making offers. Okay. All right. We're staying on track.
Bid high, my friend. Bid high.
I'm not losing this one. And so I gained this appreciation for how Cam plays, knowing that it's a different style than what the Patriots are used to and what Patriots fans are used to. And it got me really interested in learning more about the quarterback position. And then Mac Jones comes in, and it's everything we're used to, right? It's that familiar feeling. And where I went wrong in diagnosing, where the decision that was made in the end, it was, again, like Keegan said, I mean, who saw this coming with how the reps were distributed in the preseason games? It was extremely difficult to correctly guess that they were going to buck that pattern, because it really appeared like Cam was a starter and he was playing well. He's healthy. Things were going well. But Pat, the main thing we talked about yesterday was we didn't set the bar high or low enough for where Mac had to get to in Bill's mind and Josh McDaniels' mind. In my head, he's got to just run away with it. He's got to force Cam into taking reps with the twos. He's got to force Cam into extended playing time, in preseason game number 3. And that's how you know that Mac's playing so well that it's forcing this hand of Bill's, and we're really, boom, we've got a competition. Well, no. All Mac had to show Bill was, I can take these early lumps. I learn quickly. I've gained a presence in the locker room, and what he showed was clearly enough. And I had set the bar too high on where I thought the rookie needed to be to start the year. And we also talked about Bill Belichick clearly prescribes to the notion that you start the guy week 1 that you plan on playing the whole year.
Right.
And we're going to have that continuity. The whole roster is going to have the continuity. The whole organization is going to have that continuity. And so all those factors, and we've got the Mac Jones era starting in a few days, in a couple weeks.
There you go. Love it.
Yeah, and one quick thing just to build off of the Josh McDaniels and Bill Belichick factor of things. I think it plays a factor into the decision where Josh McDaniels is going to be more comfortable calling a game with Mac Jones at quarterback. Even after last year, he kind of had to change the way he did things. Like we saw it, the jump in, like they'd run 2 to 3 times as many screen passes as they did with Brady, and they dummied everything down, right?
Right.
So I think it plays a role where Bill looks at it like, can I make Josh more comfortable calling the offense? Can I take a little bit more pressure off of the coaching staff where they can kind of apply that time that they were taking building a new offense? Can they apply it to other things and kind of build up the rest of the team around them? I think that probably played a factor into the decision.
I think so too. I think it makes sense. And Harry Lime over here has got a question about where you're concerned about the sacks in the Giants game. And here's the thing with Mac that I've been so impressed about. I mentioned this a few times in some different articles that I've written, and I mentioned it last night, is his ability to learn from his mistakes. And you know, McDaniels talked about that in his press conference this morning. Like, Belichick hates error repeaters, right? That is like one thing that he just absolutely cannot stand. If you are an error repeater, he just flipping hates that. And what is the safety? Who the hell is the safety that got smoked over the top on the same exact play to Seattle? Geez, this is like the last time they played. Was it like 2012, I think? And it was like the deep safety got beat on a backside post for a touchdown twice in the same game. And it was same guy. And it was just like, are you kidding me? Like, what the hell are you doing? And I forget who it was.
It reminds me of Bradley Fletcher, the Bradley Fletcher experiment.
It wasn't Bradley Fletcher, but
took him about 6 hours, and he was on a plane.
Yeah, I don't remember who it was, but that was, you know, it was like when something happens, you make the correction. You see something happen, you make the correction, and Mac has done that time and time again, and he's done it consistently, right? And I mentioned the first day of padded practice when I walked away from practice saying, "This guy stinks. Like none of these stinks. He's not ready for the game. It's too fast for him." Right? That was Tuesday. Wednesday and Thursday were arguably his two best days of camp, right? Like, he figured it out, came back, and just absolutely rocked it the next few days. And like, that's what he's been all about since the very beginning, right? He just continuously does that. And I've been so impressed by that. And I think the coaching staff has been as well. They threw everything at him. They turned up the noise on him in preseason, in joint practices. They did all things to confuse him and mess with him, and he kept coming back. And of course he made mistakes, but he learned from those mistakes, and it made him better. And I think that's the thing that it's hard to do. Like, that's hard to do, to make a stupid mistake or look bad and then come out the next day and look good again. Like, it's hard to do that. And I think that, you know, for me at least, that's one of those things that I think they put a real big premium on.
I like the question from the fact, and the way I see it as a perfect opportunity to talk about the meaninglessness of preseason. About, Mac, we've seen you do everything else. Let's turn that clock off in your head a little bit. I want you to block out that check down. Let's really work on having your eyes fixed downfield on safety rotation and route concepts and getting through deeper reads. Let's call some deeper, longer developing concepts, and let's just work on getting the ball up. We don't know if that's the case. It's like, there's so much you don't know.
Right.
And I always come back to the Kyle Shanahan piece a couple of years ago, talking about Richard Sherman. They bring in Richard Sherman in the first couple of days of camp. Richard Sherman had gotten burned a couple times deep on 7-on-7 work. And so naturally, you've got the reporters coming in and asking, you know, what's going on with Sherman? Is he doing all right? Obviously, he's getting, got burned deep a couple times. And Sherman's working on things. Like, Sherman doesn't care about getting burned deep. He's working on a press. He's working on a certain press technique right now, and he doesn't care about the result because it's preseason, it's practice. That's the problem with, we've got to analyze all of this, each and every single thing, and camp stats and all these things,
completion percentage and crap like that.
Right. Like, these guys are working on things, and it's exactly where you want to work on things, especially if, especially if you know in the back of your mind that Mac's going to be announced as your starter in a few days. Hey, Mac, why don't you go? Let's get you out there and start working on a couple of more longer, deeper drops. We don't know if that's the case. Do you want your quarterback taking sacks? Of course not. But preseason is for these things where you can go out and just say, I know I should check this ball down, but we're working on the deep post. We're working on, recognizing too high, or, recognizing how fast the backside in cover 6 is going to be poaching crossers, or any of these things. We don't know what they're because they're specifically working. If it's a regular season game, you'd be like, well, you got to hit the check down there.
Right.
But in preseason, they're clearly working on individual things.
And what was the other guy working on, in Philly? They were calling him the check down king because that's all he was allowed to do in Philly in the joint practices. They were like, if you throw the ball deep and get intercepted, you're out. Like,
Right.
check it down.
Yeah.
Feed your running backs, So I think that's a great point that they have all of these guys doing it, not just the rookie quarterback, but everybody. So maybe let's not take the training camp stats into account so much.
The Giants wanted to see Trent Harris's how adept he was at keeping slot receivers out of the seam on Isaiah Zuber's touchdown. So, so clearly everybody's
He didn't do a great job. He didn't do a great job. I will say, so Belichick is a good question here from Cody about, Buffalo being the second hardest team to play against as a rookie. And Belichick talked about we're on to Miami, right? We're focused on Miami here. Like I'm not thinking about anything else but Miami. And it's an interesting situation because obviously you give Mac the job. The team knows now. Everyone knows it's Mac's job. Now they're voting on captains in a few days. Will he be a captain? Will he not be a captain? Cam was a captain last year. That doesn't mean Mac will be a captain this year, but it sounds like, he has kind of gained some trust in the locker room. People seem to like him. Who knows? We'll see what happens, right? He is the quarterback, but that doesn't necessarily guarantee he'll be a captain. So, but either way, I think it's gonna be really interesting him playing against the Dolphins, right? And Dark Blue Gold said they should lean on the running game, which I believe 100%. Like they're going to lean on the running game hard anyways this year. I think in that first game especially, you need to come out in a lot of run-heavy packages. I think they're going to – I wouldn't be surprised to see them come out double tight with a fullback and Harris to start with Aguilar or Myers outside. And Aguilar, you run a few play action and see if you can hit him deep. And Myers, you kind of run a few different things. But for the most part, we're trying to run it down their throat. That's what I would come out to try to do it at the beginning and just take
what they did last year with
off
Cam.
of Mac. Right. Take the pressure. What did Cam attempt? Like 17 passes week 1 or something like that?
Justin Herron was the starting tight end last year in week 1 because they came out in jumbo, and that's all they did the first drive. So I would assume that's what they do again with a rookie under center, especially with the offensive line and the tight ends and the running backs that they have. If you're not running the ball 30, 35 times a game, then you're doing something wrong.
Hey guys, hear me out here. Spread it out.
Hey, I'm not mad at it.
Let it rip.
I love it.
Let's go. Let's go. Hey, this is what he knows, right? Pat, we talked about it, right? We talked about it yesterday. This is what the kid knows. The first preseason game, the first time he's ever faced professional people that get paid legally to play football. He's running no huddle and quick game and RPO looks, and man, this is what the kid knows. Yeah, we love seeing him run 12 personnel bootleg play action. I love that. But they can do whatever, they clearly feel they can do whatever they need to do.
Right. It's true. It is true. And Sko was talking about it on today's podcast that came out, and he was saying, like, if you go back and look at his numbers from last year at Alabama, like off the play action, he had the most passing yards by far off of play action, the most completions by far off of play action, but he was throwing it down the field. He was pushing the ball down the field. It wasn't like play action hit a crosser 8 yards down the field. No. He was play action and let's go over the top. Like, and of course, when you have Devonta Smith and Jalen Waddle on your team, you can do those things, right? So, like, that makes it a little bit easier for you.
When you're hitting Slade Bolden.
Who'd you get, Brian? Who'd you get?
Jacoby's on the board right now.
Oh, yes.
He was hitting Slade Bolden for like 70-yard touchdowns against Ohio State in the national championship game. We could talk as much as we want about the weapons that he had, but he also had some random guys who ended up being, like Slade Bolden was a walk-on at Alabama, I'm pretty sure. Like, it's not all 5-star recruits as much as we think it is.
No, which is true.
So, like, the guy can place the ball wherever he wants to.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. By the way, my dad just texted me. He said the first play of the game will be a long pass. That would be awesome. It would be so awesome. Like, it's so good. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
I think they're saving something special for Tampa.
Oh, guys, man.
We lost Jacoby.
Oh, no. What did he go for, like 30?
He went super late in this thing, and I'm just out of cash.
No money.
He went for He ended up going for like $8, and I'm down to like 14 and
Yeah, you can't do that.
7.
That's the way it goes. That's the way it goes. What are you gonna do? What are you
We'll
gonna
get
do?
Nelson for 3.
If they don't run the Dion Branch AFC Championship game flea flick, or what was that? Was that an end around in 04?
Oh, the one where
Or 03?
he's waving back to the Steelers guy as he catches it and runs it in for a touchdown. I think that was
Yeah, it's not-
04. It was when
Yeah, they're gonna
Ryan
run
was it
something
Ryan Clark was
stupid
talking
against
junk.
Tampa.
So one of the idiots was talking junk.
They all
Yeah.
Ike Taylor, maybe.
No, maybe. Yeah, who knows? One of those idiots. Then no, you're right. They weren't playing against Bishop Sycamore. What a story, dude.
Can we
What
talk
a
about
story.
that? Like, let's just
How?
shoot for 20 minutes.
So I live like 2 miles south of the hotel that these guys have been staying up at for the last however many months. And like, I don't know if you guys read the article on Complex about these guys talking about living in this hotel room and like going out and stealing because they don't have food, and like
It's complete insanity.
it's a big deal.
How did ESPN let this happen? How did they let that happen? Like, you just put a team on there? Like, you just at least look into it.
Mickey
Like,
Mouse
and they
got duped
broadcast the
big
game.
time.
That's crazy, dude. I mean, multiple people better have been fired for that, because that is complete insanity that you would let that happen. Like,
Well, if we know anything about ESPN, is that they'll take care of business on internally and make sure that everybody is held accountable.
that's a great point. That's a great point. So, what a joke. So, yeah, they'll issue an apology at 3:00 in the morning.
The funniest part, just before we move on, the funniest part was the announcers realizing that they got duped like halfway through the game when IMG was up like 54-0.
Yeah.
They were like, this number 54 down on the field with like a torn ACL. He's not on the roster that that they gave.
Right.
It was a real life version of grit.
No,
it was JUCO
someone's going to
drama.
get hurt
All
out
right,
there.
we're gonna pivot to safety.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's just ridiculous. So, all right. So let's before we have a new segment coming, but before that new segment comes, we do have to talk about the biggest news of today. Okay, and that was the fact that the Patriots went out and signed not one, but 2 of Patriots Twitter's whoobies, and that is Malcolm Perry, the Heisman finalist from Navy football. Okay,
I forgot he was a Heisman finalist.
Dude, 20. He had like 2,000 yards rushing and 21 touchdowns his senior year. And of course,
Still lost to Army.
yeah, I know. And of course, New England's own, matter of fact, Rentham's own, Ben Mason, another fullback on the active roster. Patriots now have 2 fullbacks on the active roster.
Practice squad.
I don't think he's on. Is he on the practice squad? I thought he was on the active roster. Okay, so
No, practice squad.
Okay, but either way, I mean, this was it. This is one of those things where I was like, this is just complete fan service right now. We appreciate you sticking with us. Here's what we're going to do for you. We're going to pick these 2 guys up that you've been begging for us to get for the last few years. I love it. I absolutely love it.
Jelani Tavai, who everybody was in love with 2 years ago out of the draft, I think he was one of the prototypical Patriots that Phil Perry does every year. Like they just kind of went all out. They were like, "Oh, you like this guy? Garrett Gilbert, Patriots legend. We'll throw him on the practice squad too." It was fun. I was doing some of the updates with Oliver for the website, and it was fun seeing when they'd sign someone new, everybody would be like, "Oh, here's what I know about him, whatever." It's practice squad day is one of my favorite days of the year because those are my people, the Rashad Berries of the world, just getting another shot. Like, you'd love to see it.
Exactly.
And Ben Mason, I mean, you and Spags both tweeted at me immediately.
That's what I thought the big news was, right? That's what I thought. I thought that's what Pat was pivoting to in this segment here. The big news is the big boy.
I was so excited about Malcolm Perry, though. I was like in love with that man coming out of Navy. I just thought it was he could be, dude. Watching him play, he was like a human joystick at quarterback. It was outrageous. So, like,
tell us about Ben Mason, man.
Do it.
I'm a big
Ben
Michigan
Mason,
fan, but I don't love him as much as you do.
Without being ridiculous and kind of throwing expectations on a guy, I think he reminds me a lot of James Devlin in a way that Jacob Johnson just doesn't. In the fact that Jacob Johnson picked up fullback like 3 years ago and is still kind of learning the position. Yeah. Ben Mason's a fullback.
Learning football.
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
learning the sport, right? Ben Mason, though he started at Michigan as a defensive end and moved to tight end and then became a full, like the guy played everywhere at Michigan because Michigan doesn't know how to deploy their athletes. I don't know if you know this, Brian, but they have like superstar linebackers on their roster that they have playing defensive end.
I'm
I don't know if
aware.
you do that.
I am
Yes.
quite aware of the personnel issues going on over the last 20 years at Michigan.
Oh man.
So,
What a
just real
mess.
quick on Ben Mason, Devlin was a defensive end. Ben Mason was a defensive end. They both made a position switch. I think Ben Mason craves contact a little more than Jakob Johnson does. Like Jakob Johnson's kind of doing a job. Ben Mason finds something
to kill
in
basically.
hitting people.
Yeah.
And the best way to describe a fullback, I think, is you got to be a little bit tapped. Like you got to be a little crazy. I think he's a little crazy. He's got something going on. I'll share on Twitter. There's a nice video of him doing the walkthrough of Michigan's new facilities a couple years ago. He's not all there. Like there's something missing. So which I love. In a fullback.
That's what you need out of your fullback, right?
Yeah, I've loved Ben Mason since then.
All right, so we're going to transition here into a new segment. We're going to bring up a Pats fan. Now, listen, here's the deal, right? We're going to do 5 minutes of fantasy, but then afterwards, in this segment, we have to let Mike stay and give some Pats perspective because he is a Pats fan as well. So it is Daddy's Home FF. What's up, brother? How you doing, man?
What's up, guys? How y'all doing tonight?
We're doing good. Thank you for coming through. You're the first person to do this. So this is pretty exciting. We have a brand new segment. It's called 5 Minute Fantasy. Essentially, for those of you that are listening out there, I'm literally going to put a 5-minute timer on my phone. I'm going to tell Mike to go. He's going to talk about whatever he wants. People have submitted questions. You guys that are watching can submit some fantasy questions if you'd like. We'll throw them up there, and we'll get to as much as we can. The timer goes off, and that's it. He could be mid-word. Boom, we're done. Okay? So that's the deal. We got 5 minutes to go. Afterwards, we're going to let you kind of, whatever. He's a fantasy expert, okay? This is what he says he's not, but he is. So we're going to give Mike 5 minutes, and then afterwards we'll have him introduce himself. You can see the Twitter handle, but we'll have him introduce himself, plug all his stuff, and then of course talk about Pats, which by the way, Mac Jones man right here. Okay? Mac Jones guy through and through. Just so you know. Okay? So Mike, I'm going to put 5 minutes on the clock for you. And again, we'll cycle through some questions because I have a few questions here. But also, if you want to just start with literally, and the fantasy drafts are coming up. Brian's literally in the middle of 2 auction drafts as we speak. He's a lunatic drafting 4 teams in 2 different auction drafts. So, feel free, throw some things out for that'll help people during the drafts this weekend. All right, ready?
Sure.
Go.
Perfect. All right. So I think the first thing that we hit on, it came in from Twitter, which was always my favorite question. When do I stop worrying about depth? And when do I start focusing on my starting lineup? And the fact is, right where Brian is right now in the draft, I am looking to put together a starting lineup that's going to win a championship. I don't care about my bench. So when you look at the moves that I'm making, I'm taking those later picks and I'm moving them forward. I'm taking those dollars if it's a salary cap and I am putting them on those rock stars. The fact is that you're not going to find another McCaffrey. You're not going to find another Mahomes on the waiver wire. You'll find Jacoby Myers. You'll find Nelson Aguilar. You'll find those guys any day of the week with ease. So when you're putting together your lineups, when you're getting together with all your buddies this weekend, when you have the opportunity to move up and get those 10 rock star players, you do it. You always trade 4 quarters for $1 in this game. So whatever you do, don't get caught trying to hold out a few bucks so you can pick up some bench player. Don't worry about it. That's what waivers are for. That's what trades are for. Build that starting lineup from day one. Get superstars. You cannot get horses later. You can get a ton of ponies off the waiver wire. Always go for those horses.
Love it. All right. In redraft, someone asked this question too. In redraft, wide receivers, rookies, older guys, veterans, second-year guys, what are you looking at?
I'm usually going veterans, and the reason for it is because you have a lot of people that are transitioning right now from their dynasty drafts to their redraft leagues. It's hard to flip. it's hard to flip the switch. So what you're going to find is that you're going to get a significant discount on those veterans, on those people that you're hearing the fantasy analysts talk about, Justin Jefferson, DK Metcalf. What you don't hear them talking about is Antonio Brown and Julio Jones, who in redraft are going to be just as good 5 rounds later.
Right.
So in this case, that's always my target. When you look at my redraft teams, it looks like half of a retirement home. And the reason for it is people are transitioning. They're going for youth and they want to be right. I want to win. So to me, I'm not looking to find the next Julio Jones. I'll just take the one we have now. I'm not looking to find the next Mike Evans. He's going to be sitting there right there for me. So my wide receivers almost always lean towards the older side when we go into redraft leagues.
Love it. Love it. All right. Another one about Patriots, Patriots people that you're targeting.
Mm-hmm.
Who are you targeting on the Patriots, and who's the first Patriot that you're targeting on the board?
Damian Harris, it's not even close. Damian Harris will be the first Patriot off the board right now. He's my running back 17. The thing that caps Damian Harris is the lack of passing game work. That's obviously going to go to James White, some to J.J. Taylor. And there's obviously a little bit of uncertainty with whether or not Ramondre is going to get any run on the goal line. I personally don't think he will. I don't think Bill's going to trust a rookie that far down the field. I think he's going to be more of a maybe 2 to 5 carry guy at the most. Damian Harris rookie season, I think, would be a really nice blueprint for what I expect for Ramondre, but that does keep it a little bit down, I guess. As far as tight ends go, and I know people are going to jump on me for this, I'm going Hunter Henry as the guy that I'm targeting at tight end. When you look at the route trees, when you look at what Jonnu does, and when you look at what this Patriots offense, I think, is going to do with Mac Jones, I think those curl routes, I think that those drag routes are who's going to see the ball, not so much the seam routes and down the field, which is why I'm very down on Nelson Aguilar. He's just not somebody that I think when you look at how I think they're going to use Mac Jones and what they're going to format this offense on, I don't see it as a vertical seam route, fly route type passing game. I see a lot of check downs. I think you're looking at this team looking for those 20 to 17 wins. This isn't the old Patriots. They're going to go in and get into shootouts. So what I'm looking at is who's going to get those red zone catches. I think that's going to be Hunter Henry, and I think that's the guy that I'd be targeting second, followed by Jonnu. I like him better as an NFL player, but certainly not in fantasy, not to mention the fact that his ADP is higher. So when you're looking at a potential, which way is it going to go? Why not take the cheaper one? It's a smaller swing. And honestly, with tight end, once you get past the top 3, I could care less anyway. Right. I'm just going to grab a bunch of them and hope one of them flushes out, whether it be Hunter Henry, Gerald Everett. There's plenty of guys we could throw out there. The fact is tight end is just a wasteland after top 3, so go with the cheaper one. But if I was going to put money down on the Patriots guy, it's Henry.
All right, 10 seconds left. Myers or Jonnu Smith?
Myers is going to get significantly more targets. I think that he's going to be a nice low-end wide receiver 2, high-end wide receiver 3 that you're going to get for wide receiver 4 prices.
All right, that's the end. Of course, I had my stupid mic. I had my stupid volume down, so you couldn't hear the bell. But the bell did go off. That was a hell of a 5-minute spiel right there, my friend. And
doesn't count. 5 more minutes. The bell will go off.
Hey, so I want to jump in real quick and just ask about the tight end, the Jonnu Smith versus Hunter Henry, because I think Jonnu Smith, I think tight end with the best yak last year. Yards after catch, guy was an absolute killer on play action bootleg flat routes. We saw it. The first target of the preseason for Cam was one of those play action bootleg flats. They want to get the ball in his hands and get him moving laterally because he can make so much happen. Where are you kind of picturing Hunter Henry taking over that role and they're going to stick to more Jonnu Smith seam stuff? Is that what you're thinking?
I'm thinking to see Jonnu Smith moving all over the field. I also think that he's going to get a lot more attention. And I think that you're potentially seeing when you go with the 12 personnel, one of them is going to get a safety and one of them is going to get a linebacker, right? And I think you're going to see Jonnu going with a safety. And I think what you're going to see is a lot more similar to a Brady or a Breeze type offense where rather than manufacturing touches, I think you're going to see the open man getting the ball. I think you're going to see those safe throws, those easy throws. And I think that Hunter Henry is going to be a guy who's going to be more open. I think Jonnu's going to get some touches. I think, he might even get 2 or 3 goal line touchdowns when you look at it. But for me, when I'm looking at, especially in a tight end premium where you're getting 1.5 per catch, and obviously those 6-point touchdowns, I think you're just going to see Hunter Henry more bankable. I don't think he's going to be as variable. And when you're looking at that position, what I'm looking for is not to get a 0. And when you look at Jonnu last year, and especially when Taylor Lewan went out, Jonnu basically disappeared. They kept him in line. They were running Fursker actually as the person who was getting those targets and who was running the patterns. So what you saw is him drop off about week 4 or 5. So while the talent is obvious, the usage and the style of play isn't. And what I always tell people is if I was building an NFL team, I'd pick Jonnu Smith, but this is fantasy.
For sure.
So that's really the difference that I'm looking at is who is going to get those looks. I'd be shocked if we go many weeks where Hunter Henry doesn't at least get one red zone look. I think that's
Jonnu's too good, guys. He's too well rounded. I mean, and you can see it looking at the film. I mean, the guy's an absolute he's a road grader in the running game too. So they love moving him around. You'll see I guarantee you'll see a lot of that split zone protections that they like to run too, off of a split zone play action. So I like it. That's great analysis, man.
For sure.
And one quick question from me, just how does the decision to keep Mac over Cam Newton change your overall perception of the weapons? The wide receiver, running back, tight end, all of them.
Before you answer, I just want to make an announcement here. This is 5-minute fantasy. Okay. The 5 minutes is over, but I'm allowing this because it's Patriots talk. I'm allowing it.
Never sleeps.
You're not getting away with this after this week. Okay, I'm just telling you. All right.
So as Pat knows, I've been saying Mac Jones is going to be the starter, and Cam's getting cut since was it May? Pat, I think.
It was a long time ago. Yep.
And then doubled down last week.
It was nice to see you. Okay, all right, here we go. We're moving on.
I've been ranking the guys as if Mac Jones was going to be the starter anyway, because the fact is. You're playing for the playoffs, and I think even if you didn't see the cut coming, I think the odds of Cam Newton being the starting quarterback for the Patriots come week 15 was pretty slim anyway. But when you look at what this does to the skill players, obviously Damian Harris, the running game gets a huge boost. James White actually gets a really nice boost here as well. I think with these check downs, I think he's going to be a PPR monster. Jacoby Myers, I have essentially flat. And the reason for that is I think what you're going to get in efficiency with the accuracy of Mac Jones, you're going to lose the fact that Cam Newton was laser focused on him, which I think there's no way you're going to see that target share continue. That was a very odd kind of relationship where Cam, when he threw the ball, which wasn't often, threw it to Jacoby Myers every single time. So I think you have a little flatness there. I think the tight ends go up a little bit, but I think really your big gain in all of this is in the running game. The fact is that Cam Newton was completely suppressing this running game because he was so good at the goal line, similar to Josh Allen in Buffalo, right? So that's where you see the biggest boost. But James White's the person I think people are sleeping on a little bit that gets a really nice jump here, and I think he's going to be a great pickup in PPR.
It's pretty solid. I like it. And I'm going to answer Cody's question here. I'll take the Patriots defense because I literally don't care what defense I have. It doesn't matter. It's the last round anyways. But Patriots also have a pretty cake schedule the first 3 weeks before they play Tampa Bay. So you're looking at, the Dolphins with Tua, which who knows what that's going to be, 425 game. People are going to be all lubed up for that game, and it's going to be nuts. Then you playing in New York against Zach Wilson. Please. Then you got week 3, Jameis at home. Oh, baby, that could get ugly. So you're talking about – and then that's true. And then you bench them week 4 against Tampa, and then week 5 you got Tyrod Taylor and one of the worst offenses in football down in Houston. So it's to me it's a no-brainer to pick up the Patriots defense because what the heck? I mean, what do you get to lose anyways? It's the last round. It's not like please do not reach and take a defense any earlier than the second to last or the last round. But and if it's Yahoo and you don't have to take a kicker or defense and you're drafting, just don't take one. Don't do it. Don't even do it at all. Okay, but if you want to take a defense, take it at the end. And if the Patriots defense is there, jump on it. Sure.
So many sacks.
That's true.
Many.
That's true. So, all right, Mike, you gotta shout, you see the Twitter handle out there anyways, but for the podcast listeners, give yourself a shout out, tell them what you got going on, where they can see you, read you, hear you, everything else. And then anything else Patriots. We know you're a Patriots fan. So anything else Patriots you want to chat about, let's keep the conversation going.
Cool. So I am at Daddy's Home FF. You can find me at Dynasty League Football. That's where I do my thing. I have a show called Hanging with Daddy, which is basically a late night talk show interview with your favorite analysts. We also have another show coming out with Lindellians, which is going to be Swipe Right with Linda and Mike. We're going to be bringing on analysts that basically disagree with Linda, and we're going to give them 3 to 5 minutes to convince her that she's wrong. If
so
they
awesome.
are great, we will let them stay on the show. If not, they get the boot. Speed dating
That's a
style.
cool format.
It's going to be an absolute blast, and she's a rock star. So I can't wait to see that. But we have a ton of things. So anybody who plays Dynasty football, first of all, should have a DLF subscription. They are the top in the industry, but we're also really changing the brand and getting a lot more fresh new content coming out on YouTube. So you'll see the first episode of both of those shows in the coming weeks. Mine will be next week. Linda's probably 2 weeks out. And then we just brought on a bunch of new folks, Corey Spalla, Laquan Jones, and Hutchinson Brown. So you're going to see a lot more talent coming in. So it's going to be a fun season. We're just going to mess around, but you can find me on Twitter. That's where all my stuff is. And Pat, you know, I'm on there way too much, having entirely too much fun. But if it sounds like I'm joking, I am. Honestly, if you really want fantasy advice, I do that on podcasts on Twitter. I just like to have some fun. So.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's great. One of my favorite follows. And when I first kind of jumped into fantasy Twitter, like, I don't know, sometime around like before the draft, just, I don't know why. I just kind of was like, fantasy football. This is cool to talk about. And like, everyone was so cool. And like, well, I guess maybe it was last year. Holy crap. But anyways, either way, everyone was just so cool and welcoming. And you were one of those guys who, like, you know, right off the bat, you were always telling people, you know, getting people to follow people. And I had my little gift game going, and it was great. Like, I was, you guys over there do some really great things. And thank you so much for saying Lindellians, because I look at her name and I'm like, Linda Leones. I'm like, I don't know what it is. All right, whatever. You know, I've never pronounced it right. So Lindellians. All right. I like it. I had no idea what the hell I was talking about for a while. Obviously, I knew her name was Linda, but I didn't know like what was going on. So I like it. So anything else? You already mentioned Mac Jones from the beginning, essentially for you. Anything else, Patriots? You want to get off your chest or chat about before we wrap this bad Larry up?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that I've been telling everybody, and I'm sure your listeners already know this, Uche and Duggar are going to be absolute stars. I know everyone's talking about Judon as the free agent pickup. Just Uche is the best player on this defense and will be one of the best defensive players in the NFL within the next year. So get on early so you can sound smart, because this dude is an absolute monster. So that's the biggest thing I'm looking forward to. When you talk about the Patriots season, Duggar and Uche just blowing up other offenses is going to be my favorite part of the season.
Yeah, don't go over the middle against those two.
No, I would not. I certainly wouldn't. But I mean, I love what I'm seeing. I mean, Duggar to me gives me that, for all you guys that are old enough, that Chris Slade vibe. Like, the dude is on every play and never slows down. And man, if Uche doesn't look like a young Chandler Jones, I don't know who does. I mean, he is just blowing up the line easily. Like, it's almost scary how easily he's getting to quarterbacks, how quickly he's getting there. This is going to be a fun defense to watch, man.
Fastest pass rusher in the league.
Yep.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Efficient. It's crazy. So that's what we're going to get. In Quinn Norton, man, a great story for that kid. Stoked that he's getting the opportunity. So yeah, we have some cool stuff to look forward to. This is probably the most excited I've been for the Patriots in a while. Like, you know, we had such a steady run, and then last year we kind of knew it was a bridge year. Like, this is the first year that I feel like it's almost like Christmas. I have them at, 11-6. I do think that they're going to the playoffs, but the range of outcomes is so high that this is going to be a fun team to watch.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to. And what's crazy about Uche is that his best move might be his bull rush. And you're talking about the fastest guy, arguably the fastest guy on their front seven, and his best move is really, I think, his bull rush. I mean, he just absolutely murders people with his bull rush, and so it's really interesting. And I am excited about Nordin. I think, the erratic. I was shocked by that. I thought, he was a little bit erratic, so I was surprised that Bill kept him. I was excited that Bill kept him because his leg is like a howitzer. It's awesome, but I was surprised that he kept him. I'm happy about it. I have him in a few leagues, but again, it's kicker. So it's like, No offense to Lindellians over there, but like it's a kicker. So like, you know, it just draft someone, draft whoever you want. You know what I mean?
Well, she'll tell you to stream kickers too. I mean, the fact is the matchup's more important than the kicker themselves.
Correct.
That's simple. So cool.
Agreed. So this has been a lot of fun. There's a lot of fun. Obviously, the roster breakdown, pretty wild. We're looking forward to a great season. Next week, we're going to have our preview, our season preview, full season preview of a special guest and another pretty big guest for 5 Minute Fantasy. We're awfully excited about it. But thank you again for listening. Thank you, Mike, for coming through. Brian, thank you for coming through. Spags, we miss you. We hope you won tonight or lost tonight if that's what you wanted. Who knows? So either way, thanks
Lost.
for listening,
We
guys.
need him next week.
Hockey.
That's right. Thanks for listening, guys, and we'll talk to you next week.